Everybody, this is Ellie Diecast, and this video is going to be a little bit different in that we're going to take a look at this new camera that I got. A quick note for anybody that's watching that doesn't usually watch the channel. I usually film toys and diecast cars, and so I was looking for a better camera than what I had, which is what you're seeing me use right here. In something that would capture small details in about a foot space from the camera. So I tend to use the camera a little bit different than most people. I wasn't looking for home videos or the best camera for my vacation. I really wanted a camera that got decent color and could film very up close subjects. So small cars, and most everything I film is about anywhere from an inch to about 4 inches big and within about a foot of the camera. Also, I'm using some studio lighting here. So once we get into the camera, the lighting that you'll see here in my studio is set up to something like a product light set. But we're going to take a look at the JVC GZE200, and this is the BU version. I don't know that matters, but that's what's on the bottom of the camera. I've already opened up the box and taken a look at it. I've charged up the camera and I inserted a memory card into it, but we'll take a look at all those things. First, let's take a look at the box so you know what we're talking about. The GZE200 is kind of JVC's low-end line of these handheld camcorders. If you're looking into these, obviously there's a ton of choices. Most of them are basically the same. The big draw of this particular model is that it has that 40 times, I'll zoom in there, optical zoom, and it has a digital zoom as well, but the optical zoom is at least the highest that you can get in these handheld cameras. Now, that doesn't mean it's the best, and it doesn't mean it's great, and it doesn't mean the rest of the camera is great. We're going to take a look at that, but just as to let you know what's going on, that 40 time optical zoom has worked very well in my tests so far. It's also JVC touts this as a good camera for low light. We'll talk about that. It's got a touchscreen panel. It does do face recognition if that's something you're interested in. It has a stabilizer. It has an SD card slot. All the rest of those are pretty normal on these types of cameras. It is a true, in quotes, 1080 HD camera. They tout it as full HD, so 1920 by 1080. If you're really into HD and you want a high-end camera to do HD, these small handheld cameras probably are not going to do it for you. The HD that they're using is kind of a smaller size blown up to a larger size, I believe. Most of these, if not all of the smaller, cheaper handheld cameras do that. So again, if you're really into shooting film or you want something where you must have true HD, do your research. I don't, so that's not that important to me. I just care about the final image quality. You can see everything else there. GZE200. If we go over to the other side here, you can see this is the BU version, which I'm not sure what the BU is. I know B is pretty normal, so I don't know if that's a a different country's version or whatever. I got this off of Amazon. The data battery information is there too. I know some people care about that. Other side, same thing. And here's the specs. I'll zoom in on there and you can stop here if that's something that you care about. I'm using Windows 7 and my computer's a pretty good computer, but I don't think anybody would have much trouble running this software that comes with it. There is the front touchscreen 3.0 camera. There you go. So what came with the camera, here actually I'll show you this so I don't need to open it up. All of this came with the camera, And nothing real surprising there. It did come with its own adapter. It comes with a battery pack. It comes with the USB mini cable, so it's the mini type. Again, if you're buying this off of eBay and it doesn't come with these accessories, you could get all of these very easily. An AV cable, I'll probably not use that. This core filter, I did not know what that was. It's a little metal thing that comes with it. I left it right here. This is what it calls a core filter. It's for wrapping around the AV cable. And supposedly it's supposed to prevent interference. I've seen AV cables with it built in. I've just never seen one separate, so I don't know if that's normal or not. Again, I probably won't be using it. I doubt I'll use the AV cable much with my needs. It also comes with the user guide, which we're looking at. So there you go, everything you need to know about it. So the camera itself, let me give you a little bit of a preview, and then I'm going to play some shots that I took, and I'll give you kind of my impression of the setup that I had during this camera. The first thing, and I'm going to leave this on here, I want to show you something because this is the part I don't like, and if there's a way to fix this, I don't know what it is. When the camera first comes on, oops, it's real bright. See that bright screen? And then it's going to dull down in just a second. Let it go through its, see how it just dulled down and you can barely see the screen? The screen's on. It's not off. I know it's not showing up much there. You can see my fingerprints. Supposedly, I've looked all over the internet for this. Supposedly, there's a menu item in the menu called Monitor Brightness where you can fix that. And in my menu, it does not exist. I have looked everywhere. And best I can tell, there's no way to change the monitor brightness. And that's the biggest drawback I'm seeing to this camera so far. The touch screen, as it is by default, there you go, it's on. It's catching a lot of reflection there. But the reflection is the problem. The touch screen by default in sunlight is unusable. I couldn't see a thing on it. And I have no idea how to bump up the brightness on it. And I don't know if that's a firmware update. I tried updating the firmware. It said that it was completely updated. I tried updating the software. I've looked at it in photo mode and video mode, and maybe I'll figure that out in the next couple weeks, but I've spent a good amount of time setting this up the way I wanted it, and I found it nowhere. And that's a bit of a problem. Now for me, I'm using it here in my studio, and so it's just going to be basically set the same way every time I use it, and I can probably work with that, but it is annoying because I cannot see a thing on this screen when it kind of goes down to that low light mode, and I can't figure out how to get it back up. Like I said, it's in the documentation. It says that you can fix it. It is not in my menu when I go to look for it. A couple other features. It's got some quick buttons here. I found that all of these are in the menu, and clicking on these here with my fingers is kind of difficult. So I haven't used these very much. It does have a power down button here, which is in rather an odd place, but it does power it down. There's your USB, mini USB spot. There's your HDMI if you're going out to your TV. It will go out to the TV. It does have some settings for that. On the top, you've got a snapshot button, which is pretty handy. I've used that. This is your zoom in and out. It does have a volume zoom, and best I can tell, that's one of the menu settings, so that as you zoom in, the volume either goes up or down. Again, it's probably not something I would use. That is not a button, though. It appears to be a button, and it's not a button. Another thing I found is when I'm using this, and I'm not, I don't have particularly huge hands or anything, but getting my finger into position to use any of these is rather uncomfortable. And so I'm holding it the way I would usually hold it. I can get my finger on them, but it's not easy to zoom in and out. Now I'm going to be using a tripod with this almost all the time I use it, so I don't really care about that. I think if you were probably a woman, that would probably be really easy. If you're a guy, especially a big guy, this thing is going to seem really clumsy in your hand because I would have liked those to have been a little bit further back. Kind of the design issues you're going to get as they shrink these things down smaller. A few other things. The lens on this has a lens cap or a lens cover, but you have to change it manually, which I keep forgetting to do. You can record the inside of your lens cover and record blackness for a long time if you do that, especially when you can't see your screen. Here, let's watch that again. See how bright and nice it is? And then it is going to go into a useless mode here where we can't see it. So when I was outside, the first time I used it, all I did was record the inside of the lens cover because I couldn't see anything on my screen. So keep that in mind. Also, if you're into keeping these really nice and neat, I've already started scratching mine up simply from moving that. Personally, I think that should just open when you turn on the camera because the idea would be you're going to use the camera and we would not want the lens cover on. But it is manual. And again, for me, probably not a deal breaker, but a little odd. Here's your record button back here. Your power input is right here. Kind of a flimsy little door, but again, it's kind of what you get with these lower end cameras, so not the end of the world. Also, I thought that was a little bit of an odd placement, but who knows. Down below here, there's a little door. Here's your SD card slot. The SD card does not come with it, so you got to buy one. I bought a 32-bit or 32 gigabyte SD card, and it seemed to work just fine. It pops right out. The problem I didn't like is this door gets in the way when it's on my tripod, so I have to take the camera off a tripod in order to get my card out, and that seems a little bit like bad design to me. It would be nicer if the door was maybe here and the card slid in on that side. But again, not the end of the world, and with these little cheaper cameras, you know, that's about what you're going to get. Okay, so a few other things with this. The digital zoom works fantastic, and it is digital, meaning you're not getting a lot of grain with it, and it really works well. We're going to take a look at that. The camera performed really well outside in sunlight and here in my studio, but if you're going to be shooting indoors with halogen lights or lights that with a red cast to it, by default it was really red, and when I tried changing the settings I could get it to work a little bit better, but best I could do is kind of wash the color out. So indoors I wasn't as impressed with it. Outdoors it was fantastic. The image stabilization on it was also pretty good too. So we'll take a look at this. I'll do some tests. You can see what you think, and then when I come back, we'll film with the camera. Okay, we're looking at a Scion. I'm doing a sound check. So right now, I am about a foot away from the camera. So as if it's on a tripod, but if I was holding it, this is about the sound quality you would get. I've noticed the image stabilization works pretty well, although the more you zoom, the less it works, but that's kind of normal. The we'll take a look at the controls on it. The controls on it, if I was holding this in my hand, are kind of hard for my hand to deal with. On the tripod, they're just fine, but I'm assuming most people will be holding this in their hand. So next, we're going to take a look at the camera. I'm going to use my iPhone for the rest of the video so we can actually look at the camera. So when we're back with that, we'll take a look. Just to let you know what I'm doing now, I'm using the controls on top of the camera for this zoom, and according to the settings that are on my screen that you can't see right now, we're at 5 times the zoom, which you can see on this very tiny Jada car here. Doesn't really work, but they're at, let's see, what is that? That is 7 times zoom. This must be about 6 zoom. You'll see when it snaps into focus, it's really pretty focused. It seems to be either really focused well or it won't focus at all. And on some of these up close subjects, it won't focus in. It just zooms in too far and the subject's too close. That's not the same as zooming in on something far away, but obviously for what I'm doing, it's more like filming product. So this car that you're looking at now is approximately probably 4 inches long, and this window that you're looking at is about 1 inch to shorter than 1 inch. The decals and tampos that you see down here, well, there you can see my finger. They're smaller than my fingernail, and that is a pretty small zoom that we're looking at there. And at least according to what I can see here in the display, it seems to be picking that up very well. These are very tiny details on here, so I'll kind of keep my fingernail there in the scene. You can see how small those are, and it seems, at least according to what I can see in the display, to be working pretty well. So again, there's you can see how small that is. So I'll zoom out here and then we'll take a look at the camera itself. Okay, just testing. Those cars are about 2 feet away from the camera, and we're testing my voice. We're also testing to see if the lighting settings are correct. I have not checked anything. Right now it's on IA, and I think all the lighting is set up the way I want it. So that's going to about wrap it up for this little review of the JVC E200 BU. And overall, I think I'm going to like the camera. I'm not going to return it. I think I like the camera, but remember, what I do is a little specific. I really want that optical zoom that it came with, and that's what I'm taking advantage of. If I was using this camera indoors a lot, I think I'd be a little bit frustrated. Something I didn't mention earlier, using the menu, in my experience, is about as good as any of these cameras, but I've never seen one of the menus that's very easy to use or very convenient, and this is no exception. The menu kind of jumps around between whether you're shooting or not shooting, and the menu items change, and it's about 5 little finger clicks to get to any menu item you want. It tends to kind of kick out of the menu once you set something. Each menu item kind of has a different functionality to it too, like it was all written by different people. So if you're just going to plop this camera on a tripod and do the same thing over and over with it, maybe portrait photography, product photography, or maybe you're just going outdoors all the time to use it, then I think it's a fantastic camera for the price. You're really going to get some good quality. If you're trying to take just family photos and you want an overall camera that's just going to work every time you turn it on, I think the Sony cameras I was looking at probably do a little bit better job of that. So overall, I like it. It does what I need it to do, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with it here at the channel. Last thing is, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you might as well. We do a lot of stuff here. We have a lot of fun, and we'll probably get a few new viewers because of this review. So feel free to subscribe, like, note anything down below about the camera that you want. Thanks, everybody. I will talk to everybody later. Bye.